Tonight on Absolutely Animals, we're in Chicago at the world's toughest rodeo. It's popular with British tourists, but is it great entertainment or brutal abuse? There are few things more American than cowboys, bucking broncos, and of course the rodeo. This one in Chicago is billed as the world's toughest, but campaigners call it the world's most brutal. They claim that the animals are tortured, and what appears to be tough bucking behaviour is in fact an animal in agony. $20,000 are expected to attend this weekend's rodeo in Chicago. They're held all over America, but campaigners have targeted this one as they claim that it's one of the worst offenders of animal abuse.
Don't support the rodeo! Don't support animal abuse!
But to the audience, it's good old American tradition.
Rodeo is sold to tourists as well as us Americans as being an offshoot of ranch activities. As a former large animal veterinarian who worked on ranches, I can tell you that no rancher in his right mind would ever treat their livestock like they're treated in a rodeo.
You talk about a fired-up bucking horse and aggressive young cowboy athlete, and when they dance together, it is beautiful.
In order to get an animal to perform, you have to make them do what you want to do. They don't do this naturally. The first thing that you do to make the horse buck harder is you put a flank strap around him.
The horse buddy, Bobby Griswold and Buddy, go on, buddy.
The horse does not like this, and it will buck hard to get rid of this irritation in its flank area. And if you couple that with the spurs that are driven into the shoulders, this is an animal who is being abused. He is being inhumanely treated.
The horse doesn't stop bucking when the cowboy comes off. It stops bucking when the strap is released. I confronted rodeo organiser Steve Gander about this.
What makes these animals buck and sort of go wild when they get into this arena?
The horses that are in the arena bucking are athletes. They're bucking horses just like there's race horses, just like there's horses that cut cattle. It's what's in their blood. You can't make a horse buck. Most horses will buck once or twice, but they have to have the heart and desire and the athletic ability to buck. If they don't have that heart and desire, they're just not going to buck.
Campaigner Greg Campbell claims this is simply not true.
We've seen animals back 2 or 3 years ago with a flank strap was pulled on so tight, this animal was bucking so violently out of control, long after the rider was tossed, it crashed into a gate, died right there. We've been going after rodeo since 1993, and we've got reels and reels of raw footage of just you name it.
Some of the abuse at rodeos caught on campaigners' cameras is shocking. It shows cowboys dragging the animals, kicking them unnecessarily, and twisting their tails to aggravate them. Rodeo organiser Stephen Gander denies any experience of it.
In 20 years, I know of no animal that's been abused in our rodeos. Now, there might be some things that some radical might think is abuse, but the animal doesn't think it's abuse, and it's certainly not abuse if you're used to dealing with large animals.
Unfortunately, rodeo is not covered in any state humane law. They are exempted because they are an exhibition sport. So what happens is rodeo is left to police itself. The Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, the PRCA, put together a booklet of rules on how to treat their rodeo animals. However, it's left to the PRCA to enforce these rules, and therefore there's no enforcement.
With no humane laws to protect them, the life of a rodeo animal is a miserable one. For the young calves used in roping and wrestling, it's no life at all.
I think calf roping is probably the most inhumane of all of the rodeo treatment of animals. These are baby cows, and some of them are brutally injured. Sometimes their legs are broken, sometimes their back is broken, many times the trachea is traumatized, sometimes they die.
But the cruelty doesn't stop here. Cowboys use electric shock devices in order to present the audience with the ultimate thrill, a bucking bull.
Then as they're getting the rider prepared, they take an electric shock prod, or cattle prod, and just as before the rodeo, the rider comes out of the arena or out of the holding area, they shock it a couple different times.
You have to look closely to see the electric shock prod in the cowboy's hand.
Specifically at this rodeo this weekend, what we found is we were videotaping around the bull chutes where they do the event called bull riding, and over again, just like we've seen before, they shock the bulls in the chutes. What you'll see is this guy in the back of the chutes area, just before the bull goes out, he reaches in his back pocket and he grabs and he shocks the animal, sometimes once, sometimes 2 times. Like we said, I've seen him do as much as 15 times.
I've interviewed the organiser of this event, Steve Gander. He categorically denies any animal abuse is going on. You've got this video footage. What are you going to do with it?
I've got the video footage of this weekend. Let's go back in there and let's get him to see it. Let's just take it in there and go.
He told me that you wouldn't show it to him.
Well, let's go show it to him right now. I mean, if you're willing, let's go.
After a short while, Steve and Gander agreed to come out and meet us.
Steve, I'm Greg Campbell of Chicago Animal Rights Coalition. We were here on Friday to meet you and go through the footage that was taken.
You got some stuff to send to me? He's got my address.
You tell everybody that the shocking device is like an invisible fence.
Yes.
Okay. Would you be willing to take a shock right here and now? Roll up your sleeve.
No, I'm taking off.
Would you take this?
No.
Why? If it doesn't hurt, then why not take it?
An animal is different than a man.
A bovine species, as you know, is more susceptible.
His hide is a lot more thicker than mine.
They can feel this harder than you can. What happens when the animal is tied into a pen or inside a pen, cannot turn around and cannot escape the torment when these guys are shocking it repeatedly?
We're not doing it then. We're doing it when we move them from pen to pen.
You don't shock it inside the pen itself, just before it's performed.
No.
So you want to take a look at it?
What will you do if you actually look at these tapes and you find that people
I
are
will
working
call
for
Steve.
you?
I will call Steve Heine back, like I said before, and I will set up a meeting with him. But nothing has changed my mind. These people are not interested in the animals. They're only interested in confrontation.
Greg and the Chicago Animal Rights Coalition have succeeded in closing down many rodeos, but this one lived up to its name, the world's toughest. So until American law is changed to protect rodeo animals, these horses are destined for the next town and the next rodeo.